The war room of the starbound Sentinel hummed with tension. Holographic displays flickered across the metallic walls, showing the approaching Corinthian armada. 300 warships, each bristling with plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes. Commander Asil stood at the center of the bridge, her dark eyes scanning the data with practiced calm. Around her, the crew of various alien species moved with frantic urgency, preparing for what many believed would be their final stand. 15 minutes until they're in firing range, announced Farah, the ship's tactical officer, his voice steady despite the gravity of their situation. He was tall for a human, with sharp features and hands that never trembled, even when death loomed on the horizon. Asil nodded, then did something that made every non-human on the bridge pause in confusion. She walked to a small alcove near her command station and began operating a peculiar human device. A coffee maker. Zexthor, the Vrelian navigator, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the red emergency lights, turned to stare. "Commander, the enemy fleet will be upon us in mere moments." "Is this the appropriate time for sustenance?" Asil didn't look up as she measured out dark grounds into a filter. "Always the appropriate time, Zex." Farah smiled slightly at his station, his fingers dancing across the weapons console. "She won't fight without it. None of us will." The bridge fell into an uncomfortable silence. The Apex Council had assigned this diverse crew to humanity's flagship as a test of interspecies cooperation. For 6 months they had worked together, but the aliens had never understood certain human behaviors. This was perhaps the strangest yet. As the coffee began to brew, its rich aroma filled the filtered air of the bridge. The scent was foreign to most of the crew, bitter and dark, carrying with it something primal that their translators couldn't capture. "It is a ritual," whispered Salkara, the empathic Melodian communications officer, her antennae quivering. "I sensed focused determination. They are preparing their minds for death." The other aliens exchanged glances. Throughout the galaxy, pre-battle rituals were sacred. Prayers to ancient gods, meditation in isolation, the sharing of blood packs. The humans, it seemed, had their own tradition, and it involved this mysterious dark liquid. Farah rose from his station and walked to the coffee maker just as it beeped its completion. He poured 2 cups, one for himself, one for Asil. The commander took hers and inhaled deeply, her eyes closing for just a moment. 15 years I've been drinking this before every engagement," she said quietly, though her voice carried across the silent bridge. "From the Proxima conflicts to the siege of New Olympus. Every battle, every close call, every impossible situation." She took a sip, and something in her posture shifted. Shoulders back, spine straight, a warrior's bearing. "Coffee first, then we fight. It is courage in a cup," breathed Zexthor with reverence. "A liquid bravery to face the void." Farah caught Asil's eye, and they shared a brief, knowing look. Neither corrected the alien's assumption. 5 minutes to engagement range, called the sensor operator, a Threen whose scales had paled to a sickly white. Asil set down her half-empty cup and returned to the command station. "All hands to battle stations. Shields to maximum. Farah, I want firing solutions on their flagship and the 3 carrier vessels flanking it." "Already locked in, Commander," Farah replied, his coffee cup now empty and forgotten at his station. His fingers flew across the console with renewed energy, his eyes bright and alert. The Corinthians had numbers, but the starbound Sentinel had humanity's tactical brilliance, and 2 humans who had just completed their sacred ritual. "They're hailing us," Salkara announced. "The Corinthian Supreme Admiral wants us to surrender." "Put him through," Asil commanded. The view screen flickered to life, showing the fearsome visage of Admiral Craxthor, his chitinous face twisted in what passed for a Corinthian smile. "Human vessel, you are outnumbered 300 to 1. Surrender now, and your crew will be granted swift deaths." Asil smiled, a predator's smile that made even her own crew uncomfortable. "Admiral, I appreciate the offer, but you see we just had coffee. That means we're awake now, really awake." The alien admiral's expression shifted to confusion. "Coffee? What is this coffee?" "You're about to find out," Farah muttered, his hands hovering over the weapon's release. Asil leaned forward in her chair, her voice dropping to a dangerous calm. "Here's what's going to happen, Admiral. You're going to order your fleet to stand down and withdraw. If you don't, In approximately 90 seconds, you'll lose your flagship, your 3 carriers, and roughly 40% of your remaining vessels. Impossible. You are one ship. One human ship, Assel corrected. That just had coffee. Final warning. The transmission cut off from the Corinthian side. On the tactical display, the enemy fleet began its attack approach. That went well, Farah observed dryly. Fire on my mark, Assel commanded, her voice sharp and clear. Target packages Alpha through Delta. Concentrate fire on structural weaknesses. Make every shot count. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for generations. The starbound Sentinel, crewed by caffeinated humans and confused but determined aliens, didn't just fight. It danced through space with a precision and ferocity that defied logic. Assel's commands came rapid fire, each one perfectly timed. Farah's weapons calculations were flawless, threading shots through narrow windows in the enemy's defensive formations. 90 seconds after the first shot, the Corinthian flagship was drifting debris, its 3 carriers crippled, and 42 escort vessels destroyed or disabled. The remaining fleet scattered in disarray. As the cheers erupted across the bridge, Zexthor approached Commander Assel with deep reverence in his crystalline eyes. Commander, I understand now. The coffee ritual grants you clarity, speed, focus, all the attributes needed for victory. It is sacred warrior's magic. Assel glanced at Farah, who was trying very hard not to laugh. Something like that, she said diplomatically. It's just caffeine, really. A stimulant. Helps us wake up and concentrate. The alien crew stared in stunned silence. Wait, Salakara said slowly. You mean the legendary pre-battle coffee ritual is just you waking up? Pretty much, Farah confirmed, grinning now. We're not really functional without it. The legend, however, was already spreading across the Apex communication networks. The humans and their ritual of courage, the dark liquid that granted them supernatural focus and battle clarity. By the time the starbound Sentinel returned to port, the story had transformed into myth, and neither Assel nor Farah ever bothered to correct it. After all, some legends were more useful than the truth.